She will not be able to graduate high school or college, and her father will never be able to walk her down the aisle at her wedding. I plead with you. Please consider everything that he has done to our daughter and to our family.
It was Mother's Day on the 9th of May 2021 at St. Johns County, Florida. 13-year-old Tristyn Bailey was reported missing by her parents. Hours after reporting her missing, her body was found in the woods. She had been stabbed and slashed multiple times with a fragment of a buck knife lodged in her skull. What happened to the bright and beautiful Tristyn Bailey? This is the gruesome case of Aiden Fucci. Tristyn Bailey was a student at Patriot Oaks Academy and has been described as a sweet and warm 7th grader who was enthusiastic about life. She was a budding cheerleader, and her coach described her as a cheerful and spirited teenager, often bringing the team together with words of encouragement and positivity. 10 a.m. on the 9th of May 2021, Forrest and Stacy Bailey reported their daughter missing, as they had last seen her around midnight the day before. At around 2 p.m, the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office made an official announcement that Tristyn Bailey was missing. Pleas were issued via various media outlets, which sparked an extensive search for Tristyn Bailey. You see, it is a tight-knit community, so whenever something like a missing child alert is issued, everyone comes together in groups to help with the search.
This morning, at approximately 10 o'clock this morning, the St. Johns County was notified by the family of Tristyn Bailey that she was reported missing this morning at 10 o'clock this morning. 13 years old, white female. They gave a clothing description. The family last saw her last night at approximately midnight, and at that time, the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office in this community went to work.
What started out as a search for a missing girl took a very unexpected and sinister turn. Tragically, a few hours into the search, a resident in the community found the body of 13-year-old Tristyn Bailey.
First of all, good evening. And this was not the outcome the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office wanted, or this community. Busting search by the neighborhood, by the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office. We have located a body that is preliminarily identified as Tristyn Bailey. Again, it's in the early stages, but we will verify that through the process.
The body was found on the south end of a retention pond, just around the cul-de-sac of Saddlestone Drive. Tristyn was stabbed to death 114 times. Sadly, 49 of those wounds were reportedly defensive, meaning she was conscious until the 49th cut. Not too far from the body was a buck knife. This folding knife was believed to be the murder weapon and was discovered in the pond. One thing that stood out to the authorities was how the buck knife was missing the tip, as it appeared to have been snapped off, a piece of which was later discovered inside Tristyn's head. As expected, her family was hit hard, but they did find some comfort from the community, who have been an incredible source of ongoing support since the news of Tristyn's disappearance and later tragic death came to light. To aid the investigation, many community members turned over their home CCTV footage to the police. As expected, some of this footage had, in fact, picked up a lot of clues that would prove useful to the police. First was Tristyn. At around 1:15 a.m. early that Sunday morning, Tristyn was spotted at the North Amenity Center in Durban Crossing. Half an hour later, she was seen on Saddlestone Drive, over a mile from where she was last spotted. One thing was constant in both pieces of footage, and that is the fact that Tristyn was not walking alone. The case moved on to the next phase rapidly. Just before noon on the 10th of May, it was announced that the police had made an arrest.
And we actually have arrested a suspect by the name of Aiden Fucci, F-U-C-C-I, 14-year-old. He's currently in custody with the Department of Juvenile Justice, charged with second-degree murder.
Just like Tristyn, Aiden Fucci also attended the Patriot Oaks Academy. He also grew up in the same neighborhood as Tristyn. Aiden was then charged with the second-degree murder of Tristyn Bailey. Going back to the CCTV footage, there is an explanation as to why Aiden was considered the first suspect in the murder case. According to the arrest report of Aiden Fucci, one of the neighbor's CCTV cameras showed him and Tristyn walking together along Saddlestone Drive at 1:45 a.m. Sadly, this was the last time Tristyn was seen alive. For context, Saddlestone Drive is surrounded by a wooded area. When you reach the end of the drive, you will also be meeting a dead end, which leads directly into the wooded area. Now, this wooded area is very close to where Tristyn's body was found. The report says one of the subjects was wearing what appeared to be a light-colored hooded sweatshirt and a pair of white shoes with a black Nike logo, all of which matched the description of Aiden Fucci. Tristyn was the second subject, and although she was reportedly wearing her cheerleading uniform in the CCTV footage, she was observed to be wearing a black shirt and black pants. Another camera then caught the person matching Aiden's description walking away from the wooded area at around 3:27 a.m. and heading back down Saddlestone Drive. Then another footage shows him running home. When he arrived, he was carrying a pair of white shoes, later confirmed to be his, in his hand. The arrest report revealed that Aiden had admitted that he had taken them off because his feet had been hurting. Now, this time when he was walking back down Saddlestone Drive, it was notably almost 2 hours after he had been seen with Tristyn on the same road. To follow up on the insight from the CCTV, the police immediately went to Aiden's house to question him on the 9th of May. Same day, Tristyn was reported missing and then found dead, and also just a day before he would eventually be arrested. Aiden Fucci's house is located less than a mile from where Tristyn's body was found. The police put him in the back of a car, and while he was in the back, Aiden did something disturbing that would incriminate him further. He posted a picture to Snapchat with a caption that says, "Hey guys, has anybody seen Tristyn lately?" Aiden also made a video snap that he left in his Snapchat memories.
It's in a cop car, guys. Tripping, dude. We're having fun in a cop car.
Yep. Tristyn.
What's up, guys? Tristyn, if you can walk out the damn...
When you see this in a month...
The police obtained a search warrant for Aiden's house, which led to the finding of multiple items that would prove to be of great value to the investigation. The forensic team worked closely and examined everything to try and obtain any DNA that could incriminate Aiden Fucci. Notably, this process can take a long time, sometimes even months. But thankfully, the team at the lab worked expeditiously. Subsequently, Tristyn's DNA was found on the pair of shoes and the t-shirt found in Aiden's bedroom. The St. Johns County Sheriff, Robert A. Hardwick, went on to add that the authorities will continue to build a case against Aiden Fucci with school records.
I can just tell you that the man is a cold-blooded killer. And I hate to say man, he's a child, but he committed a man's crime. And with that being said, of course, I just feel like he's being held responsible for the crime he committed. So again, we'll build that case with school records. A lot of this stuff, of course, will come through court orders, search warrants, and talking to people that know our suspect.
Moving on to the arrest affidavit, it revealed that the defendant, Aiden Fucci, admitted that he had been at a mutual friend's house that night with Tristyn before they left together. It also revealed that the two of them had then engaged in an argument at around 1:10 a.m. before he pushed her to the ground. When she fell, Tristyn supposedly hit her head. At the time, the details of this alleged argument were unconfirmed, and it was also still unclear how or why the two of them were walking together down the street. On the 11th of May, Aiden Fucci appeared for a detention hearing via Zoom from the Volusia County Regional Detention Center in front of the circuit judge Michael S. Orfinger. Aiden's parents, Crystal and Jason, were also present for their testimonies. The judge carefully explained to Aiden the purpose of his detention hearing. In these cases, this first appearance hearing is conducted to determine whether or not there is probable cause for the judge to believe that an act of delinquency actually occurred. And in cases where this act occurred, the judge would determine if the defendant was the one that committed it. If the judge finds that there is in fact probable cause, he is then to discuss the terms in which the law allows the defendant to be either released or further detained. Aiden Fucci was then charged with second-degree murder because the murder was permitted with a depraved mind, but likely without premeditation.
Permitted with a depraved mind, but without premeditation. That is murder in the second degree, although it is a first-degree felony.
Judge Orfinger ordered his stay in juvenile detention for 21 days. This was intended to give the state attorney time to decide whether or not Aiden Fucci would be tried as an adult. A week later, the Jacksonville attorney, who had been retained to represent Aiden, filed a motion to withdraw from counsel. This is usually done in cases where a lawyer feels his client is not being truthful or wants to pursue an unethical course of action. It is not certain which of these is actually the case, but the motion was granted, and Aiden was temporarily without representation.
And I'll grant your motion to withdraw at this time, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
As a result, Aiden's parents both asked for a judge to declare them indigent. When this is done, it means that such a defendant does not have the sufficient income to afford a lawyer for a case that would run for a long time, which usually applies to criminal cases. The application of Crystal Smith, Aiden's mother, was accepted, but that of his father, Jason Fucci, was initially denied until he proved that he was just self-employed and has been unable to find work ever since Aiden's crime was made public. For this reason, his request was granted.
And are you employed?
Yes, ma'am. I'm self-employed, but since this, the company has took a down sports ball.
Okay, so that your company is just your only source of income?
Yes, ma'am.
This meant that Aiden, who was 14 years old at the time, was going to be represented by the Public Defender's Office.
Well, thank you, Your Honor. Actually, we're going to have a team of attorneys representing Aiden Fucci. We're glad you did that, Your Honor. It's a privilege to represent young Mr. Fucci.
In the meantime, hundreds of thousands of people signed a petition asking the state attorney's office and Governor Ron DeSantis to try Aiden Fucci as an adult rather than a juvenile, and to also charge him with first-degree murder as opposed to the second degree. On the 18th of May, Tristyn Bailey's family held a celebration of life service to honor her. Many people attended the memorial at the Celebration Church in Jacksonville, most of whom wore white and aquamarine, Tristyn's favorite colors. It was a beautifully and equally emotional service. The family and friends of Tristyn shared beautiful memories of her and expressed positive and very hopeful thoughts. Her parents and siblings showed such strength, resilience, and grace that spoke volumes.
You guys amaze us, and the outpour of love from our community is breathtaking, and we cannot thank you enough for that. But I made a promise to her today that I was going to keep her memory alive. I was going to make her name shine above all the evil that has happened, and from the goodness that has poured out from her friends, our families, our community, and across the world.
On the 27th of May, an announcement by State Attorney R.J. Laritza would raise the hopes of everyone following the case. It was announced that Aiden Fucci would, in fact, be tried as an adult, and his charge was also upgraded from second-degree murder to first-degree premeditated murder. He was unanimously indicted by a grand jury on first-degree murder charges.
Indictment against Aiden Fucci for first-degree murder involving our victim, Tristyn Bailey. Once the grand jury had done the indictment, we did a transfer order, which I believe some of the folks in the media had already gotten a hold of, transferring the case from juvenile court to adult court.
This indictment was the triggering document that signaled and executed the move from the case from juvenile court to the adult court system.
I can tell you also that the executive team and I reviewed all the facts, all the circumstances, the applicable law, and it was not a difficult decision to make that he should be charged as an adult. It's a sad decision and a sad state of affairs, but it was clear to us after we looked at what happened that it was not only appropriate to charge the defendant as an adult, but it was really the only choice that we could make.
At this point, witnesses had come forward with further insight that would join the stack of evidence against Aiden Fucci, all of which helped switch the case to an adult trial. During the same announcement, it was brought to light that the defendant, Aiden Fucci, had made statements to several of his peers, unnamed at the time, that he intended to kill someone. He had not told them who his victim would be, but he had told them that he would take such a victim to the woods and stab them to death.
The defendant made statements to several people that he intended to kill someone. He didn't say who that was, but he indicated to witnesses that he was going to kill someone by taking them in the woods and stabbing them. And there's additional items that we are looking at now that have been sent to the FDLE lab for confirmation of blood and DNA analysis.
Now that Aiden was to be tried as an adult, there were a lot of expectations. First, if he was charged as a juvenile, it meant that he could not legally have been held in jail beyond the age of 21, no matter the crime. Of course, this would not have been justice enough for Tristyn Bailey, which is why over 700,000 people signed the petition against him. Also, the case of Tristyn Bailey could only be seen as a first-degree murder after critically analysing all the available evidence. Consequently, adult charges are automatically attached to a first-degree murder indictment. So when the grand jury indicted Aiden Fucci on first-degree murder charges, his case automatically moved out of the juvenile court and into the adult felony court.
May 28, 2021. I'm Judge Maltz. This is the first appearance in the state of Florida versus Aiden Fucci, which is case number 21-825-CF. Are you Aiden Fucci?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very well.
The judge, Howard M. Maltz, began by laying out the charges and subsequent sentence he was facing before him. According to the judge, the first-degree premeditated murder charge is also a capital felony that is punishable by death or life in prison. He also explained that because Aiden is a minor, the death penalty was automatically taken off the table for him.
Or life imprisonment. In your case, because you are not yet 18 years old, death is not a possible sentence pursuant to the Florida and United States Supreme Courts, but this charge does carry a maximum penalty of life imprisonment.
This goes in line with the 2005 declaration by the United States Supreme Court that the death penalty be unconstitutional for defendants who are under the age of 18 at the time their crime was committed. So if Aiden Fucci is convicted of first-degree murder, he could receive a maximum sentence of life in prison. In cases of a life sentence, the state of Florida technically had parole, but courts haven't granted it for some time. This practice for some crimes was abolished by the Florida legislature in 1983. But by 1995, it was phased out completely for the remaining crimes. In the absence of parole, Florida law, however, requires that a judge would review the life sentence of a juvenile 25 years after their arrest. At this point of review, the judge would have to consider several factors in deciding whether to charge the life sentence or not. One of the most important of those factors includes whether the victim's family objects to the change of the sentence or if the defendant still poses a risk to society. Regardless of what happens at that 25-year review, that juvenile convicted of murder cannot be released until he has served a statutory minimum sentence of 40 years. The state attorney, R.J. Larissa, has indicated that his office will be seeking the life sentence for Aiden Fucci, but he also speculated that Aiden may be able to appeal it since there is currently a much wider and ongoing effort to reduce sentences for juveniles in Florida. It was also noted that there was no evidence to suggest that Aiden suffers from any psychological conditions or issues, and seeing that he had no previous criminal history, the motive for this senseless and gruesome attack remained unknown. However, the weeks that followed would bring to light more damning evidence against Aiden Fucci and his mother, Crystal Smith. Yes, his mother. Surveillance cameras at Aiden's residence would later reveal that upon speculation of what Aiden had done the night before, Crystal would wash the bloody jeans of her son. On the 5th of June, it was reported that Crystal Smith would face a charge of tampering with evidence after she turned herself in to the authorities. She was then arrested and booked in the St. Johns County Jail. As expected, the arrest warrant revealed some insight as to why she was arrested. The warrant detailed that after Aiden had left with the authorities on the 9th of May to be questioned for the murder of Tristyn, Smith was in her home, busy covering up what she knew was evidence against her son. From the surveillance video inside her home, Crystal can be seen washing Aiden's blue jeans he was believed to be wearing when he took that walk with Tristyn Bailey and eventually killed her. That same pair of jeans tested positive for blood. In addition, the drain in the sink where Crystal had washed the jeans also tested positive for blood. Objectively, this footage on its own does not seem incriminating. Crystal was not behaving frantically, so one could also argue that she was just going about the laundry like she usually would. However, considering that blood was proven to be on that same pair of jeans then, she must have seen that there was blood on it before she began to wash it. Going back to the surveillance video, Crystal goes downstairs and can be seen with a pair of jeans on a call with someone. Who was she calling? Upon recovery of this footage, the next logical step for the authorities would be to pull up the cell phone records for that day as well. It is possible that she was seeking advice on what to do with the pair of jeans, because later, when she and Aiden's father were put in a holding room together with him, she tried to get Aiden to admit that he was wearing a pair of khakis and not jeans.
You wore khakis or blue jeans?
Blue jeans.
You sure it's not one of them? When we looked on the camera, you were wearing khakis. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that could be noted about Crystal in that interrogation room is that she was more concerned about how Aiden looked and sounded than if he had actually committed the horrific crime. In light of the recent developments, a lot of people wondered why Crystal Smith was not arrested much sooner than she was. Local attorney Eugene Nichols did provide some insights as to why that happened. According to him, Crystal's arrest took so long because the investigators were most likely still interrogating her to be sure of the facts. He also went on to explain that Crystal had been charged with a third-degree felony and that her case would not come up until the court is done with that of her son, Aiden Fucci. He also speculated that while she would serve some time in prison, it is still possible that the state attorney's office would understand that she was a distressed mother who wanted to help her child.
Larissa's office recognizes that this was a mother trying to protect her child and made some very bad decisions in order to try to protect her child.
Aiden Fucci was held without bond at the Duval County Jail in Jacksonville, where he was notably separated from the adult inmates inside. A felony arraignment date was set for the 10th of June, where Aiden Fucci would be required to plead guilty or not guilty. The murder of Tristyn Bailey still did not appear to be sexually motivated. Going over all the records at this time, there was no form of indication of a sexual assault. So what then was the motive of this crime? Did Aiden kill just for the thrill of it?